Napoleon's exhortation to his troops, "Think, my soldiers, from the tops of these pyramids 40 centuries look down upon you," has gone down in history, but was hardly necessary. The Battle of the Pyramids was a walkover. Mameluke swords, however valiantly wielded, were no match for French musketry. The following day he entered Cairo. To his men, a slight improvement on Alexandria, but scarcely a vol voyage. Nelson, meanwhile, had been pursuing the French ships across the Mediterranean, misled by information from a Genoese vessel that Bonaparte had left Malta on 16 June, 3 days earlier than he actually did. He had hastened to Alexandria. Then, finding to his astonishment no trace of the French fleet, he had sailed again on 29 June to search for it along the coast of Syria. As a result of this confusion, it was only around 2:30 p.m. on 1st August that he returned to Egypt to find 13 French men of war, he himself had 14, and 4 frigates anchored in a 2-mile line in Abu Qir Bay, one of the mouths of the Nile. But they were still 9 miles away. It would take another 2 hours to reach them, and a lot longer still to draw up his own ships in a regular line of battle. Night encounters in those days were hazardous things. There was a danger of running aground in unknown waters, and a worse one of firing into one's fellows by mistake. Most admirals in such circumstances would have elected to wait until morning. Nelson, however, seeing that the French were unprepared and that there was a favorable northwest wind running, decided on an immediate attack. He began by sending 4 ships inshore along one side of the French line, while he himself, in his flagship, the Vanguard, led a parallel attack down the offshore side. Each enemy vessel was thus subjected to a simultaneous cannonade from both sides. That was at about 6 o'clock. The ensuing battle lasted through the night. By dawn, all the French ships but 4 had been destroyed or captured, including their flagship L'Orient, on which Admiral Brueul had been killed by a cannon shot. The vessel still lies beneath the waters of Abu Qir Bay, together with all the treasure looted from the palaces and churches of Malta. The Battle of the Nile, as it was called, was one of the greatest victories of Nelson's career. In his dispatches, Nelson had reported that the engagement had taken place not far from the Rosetta mouth of the Nile, hence the slightly misleading name. It would have been more accurate to call it the Battle of Abu Qir. At a stroke, he had not only destroyed the French fleet, he had severed Napoleon's line of communication with France, leaving him marooned and frustrating all his plans of conquest in the Middle East. His victory also had a serious effect on French morale, though not apparently on Bonaparte's. Almost before the ship's guns had cooled, Napoleon was at work transforming Egypt into a strategic base. What the British were attempting to achieve little by little in India, he set himself to complete in a few months. He devised new and more efficient systems of administration and taxation. He established land registries. He gave orders for hospitals, improved sanitation, and even street lighting. The scientists and engineers whom he had brought with him were put to work on such problems as the purification of the Nile water and the local manufacture of gunpowder. Where he failed, unsurprisingly, was in his attempts to win the trust and support of the Egyptians. He did his best, taking every opportunity to stress his admiration for Islam. He even issued a proclamation to the people of Egypt, in which he seemed to go still further. I, more than any Mameluke, worship God. Glory be to him and respect his prophet and the great Quran. O you Sikhs, judges, imams, tell your nation that the French are also sincere Muslims.